So I'm sitting backstage at the Metro with Tom Smith, the lead singer of Editors.
Mm-hmm.
Are you also the primary songwriter as well?
I mean, I write the words. I think, and the very start of a song, but that grows into all four of us, kind of having our own ideas and trying to slot them together to make an Editor's song. But the words are all from me. So.
Okay. So I mean, a lot of the lyrics are seemingly they're pretty dark, kind of gloomy. I mean, is that who you are, or is that just a part of you that you write from?
I mean, I've always kind of loved the kind of melancholic music, and there's something you can kind of attach to, and I don't know, it seems to be easier to make sad songs than happy songs. But I don't know, I think the words, to a lot of people say how dark the lyrics are and stuff, but I think the tone of the record is dark, and maybe the sounds on it, but there are a lot of optimistic lyrics on the album, and things that are openly romantic, and I think people that love our band see both sides of the lyrics.
Well, it also seems like a lot of the stuff is pretty metaphorical. Mm-hmm. And I mean, how old are you right now?
24. Very nearly 25.
You had to think about that for a second.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, all sparks. All sparks will go out. I mean, it seems like it's almost like a political message, or I don't know. You tell me. What is the?
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, All Sparks and Blood are the two darkest things lyrically on the album.
Yeah.
I guess All Sparks is it's pretty much pessimism in the song, isn't it? Kind of, but maybe realism as well. I don't know. But the kind of what excites me about those two songs is they've also probably the most playful and catchy melodies that we've got going on the whole record,
right.
And kind of putting those two things together. When I sit down to write words, sometimes I'm feeling good and happy about things, and sometimes I'm thinking about how shit life can be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be this kind of morose tune carrying that message, I don't think.
Okay, so it's more of like you're not necessarily only pulling from experience, but you're also pulling from how you might be feeling that day.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's stuff that's happened to me and stuff that I observe happening to people.
Right.
I mean, all the lyrics kind of are stemmed in the bigger things, like feelings or relationships or lack of relationships or whatever, or general kind of insecurities that teenagers or young people have, I guess.
Right. Well, how old were you when you wrote those songs?
Some of them. I mean, the oldest ones on the record will go back to I was at university, so I'd have been early 20s.
Okay.
So they're not that old, really.
Early 20s as opposed to now.
Earlier 20s. I've been writing songs since I picked up the guitar when I was about 14, 13.
Okay. So, but like Blood, is that written toward a particular person who hurt you in childhood? Where it's just basically like we have the same blood, but
basically with the songs, I try to slightly detach myself from them in some respects, and some of them do have kind of specific events that inspired certain lyrics in the songs. And the rest of the songs kind of padded out because you can use words as imagery and stuff and get people to think for themselves. But I'm not too interested in really going into exactly what happened to me there. But when you go through life, you do come across people that you find you've got nothing in common with. It could be someone that you've gone through a relationship breakup with, or it could be someone that you meet who votes for the BNP or someone like that who's just a completely different way of thinking to you. So, Blood and All Sparks, the darkest points on the record.
Okay. So, you guys really have had a pretty good 6 months. Mm-hmm. I mean, how does the attention feel now? I mean, you're massive in England. You're definitely gaining steam in the States. Mm-hmm. How does that, coming from that perspective, it's like, where does that put you?
It's strange, isn't it? I mean, you try not to. Sometimes you try not to think about it too much, but then you have to make sure you continue telling yourself how, stop yourself and look around and how well you're doing and stuff, and appreciate that and not forget that, because you can, back home, our record came out, was it, ages ago. Our first single came out in January, 2 Januaries ago, 2004, whenever that would be. No, 5. We were signed end of 2004, first single 2005. We're 2006 now, aren't we? So the success that we've had in the UK, it's culminated as time's gone on. It didn't happen to start with and then it's kind of petered out.
Right.
The record sales have kind of built as our awareness has grown gradually, constant touring and stuff, and people just slowly realising that, who we are, and culminating the album went to number 2 6 months after it was released, which is really strange. I think any hype that's around us here is a reaction to the hard work we put in back home.
Sure.
But coming here and starting again, the word in places like here in Chicago and in New York and stuff, and the word's kind of out about us, and the crowds are pretty big for a new band. But on this tour, we're also playing places like Columbia and Covington and there are the places like that where people don't know who we are. So it's easy not to get carried away with it, because in the big scheme of things, now taking on this big place, America, there's it's a lot of hard work to be done to get anywhere near what we've done in the UK.
Like, do you find it humbling, or have you guys? Because I don't know, like back home, like, do you guys have this kind of like persona, like you're cocky, standoffish, or are you approachable?
No, I think we're pretty approachable. I don't think we've ever kind of been that kind of arrogance that a lot of bands have kind of goes hand in hand with some of the music. They kind of believe that they deserve to be the best or biggest band in the world, and that goes with what they do. And that's part of it. But with us, it's never been about that. We've always been like that. But although we have self-belief and we're very proud of what we do, and we're somewhere in us deep inside we believe that we could be popular. We're always surprised that when there's 2,000 people in the room to come see you or whatever. That's still a very humbling experience, walking on stage to that, and we don't take that for granted.
Okay. Are there any bands that you think that have gotten a lot of hype, either here but more so back home, that may not deserve it, or do you think that it's like gone out of control for no reason?
I don't know. That's not really for me to say. You don't deserve it. I mean, because it's too. It can happen so quickly and so strangely for some people that it just gets out of control. But the weird example to me last year was when the band. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of the music. That's not my point. But when the Bravery came out,
right.
One single, they were just plastered everywhere, all over the radio and all over front cover of the Enemy, and this band were going to change the world or whatever. And less than a year later, they were nominated for worst band in the Enemy Awards.
Oh, really?
Just seeing how the Enemy that created them, and then.
Right.
Then they're nominated for worst band in their magazine. So it's just that in itself is absurd. So I'm just very thankful that ours we've never been championed to that extent by anyone.
Right.
People have always been very nice about us, and reviews are generally good. But we've never been. No one's ever put us and said this is the best new band that you're going to hear all year or whatever. We've kind of earned the success, it seems, that we've got.
Well, it's kind of funny that you talk about the Bravery, because one of the reasons that they also blew up was the whole thing with the Killers, their big feud. Are there any bands, like, have you guys had any issues with anybody?
No. Do you know a band called Dogs?
Dogs?
No, just a small band. He threw a beer can at me once. But
that was about it.
Other than that, no, we're pretty. It's weird when you kind of go around touring and stuff, and you meet all bands and stuff. And you kind of generally, most bands are kind of like-minded people. And I remember when I first got it. Before we were in a signed band, before we had a record out, you think of bands as kind of being quite intimidating and somehow different, but they're not. They're, like I said, very normally like-minded people. We're lucky enough to work with, big influence on our band is a band called Elbow, who are in town tonight. We were lucky enough to. They approached us, and so they wanted to work with us. We were just like, shit, this is our heroes, our idols, and just becoming friends with them after working with them and stuff. And you quickly realise that,
they're just regular people.
Yeah.
I mean, is anybody else that you guys want to work with that?
I know Jason Pierce from Spiritualized is doing a remix for us.
That's cool.
Yeah, mate, really cool. Really, really chuffed that he's agreed to do that. So I'm open to working with as many people as possible, I think. Yeah.
I mean, are there any personal heroes that you would say, God, I would die to work with them, but then you meet them, and you're like, oh my God, I don't, and you become that kid again.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the Tom Yorks and the Michael Stipes of the world, I guess, for me.
Right.
Radiohead, OK Computer and the Bends, and all that stuff. But OK Computer especially is one of my favourite ever albums. And just Radiohead never ceased to amaze me how they continue evolving and inspiring, and and R.E.M. I find Murmur and Reckoning two of my favourite ever albums, and I think the way their success went to start with, up until Automatic People, 10, 12 years or whatever, becoming the biggest band in the world at that point, but not losing any of their kind of mystique or credibility, was an amazing feat. So I think being able to work with Michael Stipe would be incredible. But I don't know.
Maybe one day.
He was out. We played in Athens, and he walked past the club. Our sound man saw him because he just lives around the corner.
He just walked by. He
didn't come in. So gutting. We just covered Orange Crush actually for.
I read that on the forum.
Yeah, it's going to be for Q magazine. I think it comes out next month. I'm going to cover that.
Do you think you're going to ever license that to put on your next album or a single or anything?
It won't be an album, but it might make. it's really good. What was it? We're very proud of it. You know, it was fun to get back in the studio. We kind of forgotten how to do. We've been on tour for so long.
Right.
Get back in a proper studio and doing it. It was a lot of fun, and we are very proud of it. So I would expect that we'd do something with it as well. We won't go on an album.
Do you play it live?
No, we haven't yet. We need things like that song. You need 2 vocalists on stage because of follow me, no,
right,
follow me. And I can do it in the studio, but the other 3 members of the band haven't put their singing shoes on yet.
I think you need to try it tonight. Just debut it.
Yeah.
Just have a good time. So why not?
You know,
have the audience be your second voice.
Yeah. I think that could work.
That could work. Why not? You can start a new trend for editors.
Uh,
So what are, like, as far as the you've been obviously compared to, and this is like a twofold question.
Okay.
How do you feel about when critics say one band, one Interpol is enough, we don't need another?
Yeah. Yeah. How do I feel when I say that? Slightly. Of course, it annoys you. You know, I don't mind being compared to other bands. You know, there's a list of bands that get mentioned when people try to describe my music because
that's what about that. That's
that's what happens when you're a new band, and I know that's how it happens. But if people use it as a stumbling block, you know, if people don't like our music, that's fine. And someone who says that obviously doesn't like what we're doing anyway, so that's just the reason they've given for not listening to us, and that's fine. You know, they're obviously never going to like us in the first place. But in a way, you know, that point can also put off other people. And there are people that love our band, you know, love both those bands, and see that, you know, of course I see similarities in what we do with certain other bands. But when people question our integrity, you know, about it, and of course that grates because you know, we're very passionate about what we do. We believe in it, you know. And, for people just to so cheaply discard it as something as a copy of something else, that it hurts. Of course it hurts. I'm human.
Yeah. So as far as, I mean, do you feel that you are like them?
I think there are certain similarities here and there. Not as much as people go on about, to be honest. I mean, it's weird having been put in a situation to kind of forced to compare yourself, almost defending. I don't really enjoy doing that, but you know, I've got a deep voice, and you know, the tone of our music is dark, you know, to casual listeners. But you know, we've never sat around and copied anyone, so I think there's a lot more warmth in our record. I don't know.
And obviously the big comparison is Joy Division. You know, and do you feel? I mean, it is pretty uncanny. You know, and obviously it's your voice, and you probably didn't train your voice to sound like Ian Curtis. But do you think, you know, that he would be proud to say that people are saying that you sound like him?
I don't know. Would he be proud to say that people say?
Or do you think
would he be a fan of our band?
Do you think? I mean, do you think he would?
I don't know. I don't know if he was ever.
Would you say, little fucker, he's stealing my voice?
That's a ridiculous question. I don't know. You know, they've never been an influence on us.
They haven't.
No, not at all. You know, he does have a deep voice, but I've got to be honest. You know, I think Bullet sounds nothing like a Joy Division song. Fall sounds nothing like a Joy Division song. Distance sounds nothing like a Joy Division song. You know, from what I know, you know, I only know the singles because I've never really been exposed to what they do. I'm fully aware of their legacy and stuff, and you know, the list of bands that people use to compare us, a lot from that period of time, all kind of 80s. You know, the early U2s, the Bunny Men. You know, Joy Division. The list isn't a bad list, you know.
Not at all. It's not a bad place to be.
And I know that if your band's good enough and with time, those kind of stumbling blocks or comparisons will go away.
Right.
It's happened to a lot of bands. I remember Muse were just the new Radiohead. That's all they ever were for like 2-3 albums, and that's ridiculous to say that now. You know, Muse and Muse, they're fantastic.
Right. It's just, I mean, I guess it's hard. You know, it's like when you're a new band, there's obviously going to be people before you that you are going to sound like. You know, I mean, there are people that are doing things that are new and groundbreaking, but there's nobody who hasn't done something similar to it before.
Yeah, I mean, we always, you know, we're just kind of a song band, really. And
Well, what do you guys do then to set yourselves apart to make you unique and make you just editors and not say they sound like this band or they're doing that thing like that band?
You just don't think about it. I don't think if you're striving to try and do something completely original, very few people, like you said, succeed, and we've never been interested in doing that. The only thing we've ever wanted to do, you know, is make kind of big, passionate, exciting guitar music.
Right.
And we want to connect with people and touch people, and lots and lots of people get that about our band, and the people that love our band, that's how we're making them feel. So that's the only thing we've ever really tried to do. We've never tried to not do anything.
Right. Well, I've heard that, and tonight's going to be the first time I'm seeing you live, and I've heard that your live show is something that makes you stand apart. Like, what, to somebody who's never seen you, like, what would you say to them to say, come see us because this is what we're like? Or this is what you might get from it?
What we're trying to do, those moments in gigs where the hairs on the back of your neck go, or you feel compelled to kind of move as being part of the audience member. We're trying to provoke that kind of reaction from the audience, and there is a thread of intensity that runs through our music, and the amount of passion we have for what we do comes across when we're on stage, and we have all other different ways of expressing ourselves. But it's not cold. It's quite warm. It's back home. When there's a room full of however many people all singing back the words to our songs, it's more of a there is a sense of euphoria sometimes. And our songs have very big moments in them. And we're not scared of that. We like big choruses and we like melody. We've tried to do it in a credible way, and do it.
What are some of those standout moments? Like, what songs are the ones that really hit it for you?
Yeah, obviously when you play the hits, the audience comes out. But
Sure.
there are moments in the song Fall where it breaks down to me on guitar, and back home, I can't hear what I'm doing above the audience singing it at me. And that's a very
That's got to be pretty wonderful.
cliched band moment, but it's
Sure.
true. It's amazing. It does move you, and it makes you think shit. But there are lots of moments about the sets that you just kind of you lose yourself in when it's going well, and when the gig's going well and everything's sounding good, and I don't really know where I am or what I'm doing, and that's the one of the biggest buzzes.
Is that why you're in it?
Yeah,
Is that
I think so.
what
Yeah,
it's for you?
yeah. Until we get back in the studio, then we'll go.
And then see what goes from there.
Yeah.
What when you're up there and you're getting lost in the moment when it's a great thing or whatever, but then like you said, like there's certain shows like last night where it's like the audience isn't part. Like, what's going through your head? Are you just like,
it can be terrifying.
I want to get off the stage. I want to get out of here.
It can be terrifying. I've come off stage thoroughly miserable before, and been upset because when you kind of question if you're being false, or you think every move you then do is calculated or planned. If that goes through your head, I question myself, and then I understand still, and it looks like I'm being a moody bastard, but I'm not. I'm just caring by the fact I'm not enjoying it as much as I know I do.
Right.
But that's part of being a performer, I guess, and getting up on stage every night.
Okay. One of the questions I actually wanted to ask you earlier, and this is just like a fact thing. Mm-hmm. Where do you consider yourselves from now? Because I know you're all from different spots, and none of them are musical meccas.
I mean, the band is from Birmingham.
Okay.
Because that's where we moved to get a record deal. We were there for 2 years working in the day, and then working on the band in the evening. And I think some of the darker moments on the record come from that time. Your environment rubs off on you.
Is Birmingham a pretty dark?
It's pretty bleak, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not really ever had much going on for it. It's not very vibrant. It's big and sprawling and ugly, but we had a lot of good times. I made a lot of good friends, but as cities goes, it's not
Right.
It's not many. But we're from all over the country, and I live in London now.
Okay. So you moved out of your parents' house.
Yeah.
Weren't you living? Doesn't that say that somewhere on the? Isn't that you that still lives at home technically?
It's weird. The other three do now, because they used to have a house in Birmingham, but the Reds it's finished now, so they all live at home technically. I've managed to get out. I live in London, but I'll still go home very often because that's where I start to write.
Yeah.
I can write well at home. So.
Do you feel like not being from a big musical city like Manchester or London or whatever helped or hindered your growth as a songwriter and a musician?
I think it helped. As the band, we've never really been part of any scene. We've always kind of there's never been bands around us that I think sound particularly coming out of the UK sound anything like us, and they've got any level of success. So. I think it can only be a good thing not to be kind of affected by what's going on around you for us.
Right.
I mean, it's different for every band, but we're very focused on what we do and don't really care about what goes on around us, so that must have helped.
So this tour is like halfway through, I think.
We're a bit more than that now. Actually, we're in the home straight. We've been out here for I think since South by Southwest, so that's more than a month, and I think we've got 2 weeks left.
Okay.
And we leave just after Coachella, but we come back again in July, I believe, for Lollapalooza, and then another tour around that.
Okay. And are you going to be doing it on your own? Or are you going to be touring?
I think that'll be our own shows. Yeah. Not as extensive as this tour, obviously, but the major places. And I think their plan is to come back again before Christmas for another big tour.
Is it exhausting?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
So what are the things that you need to have with you? It's like personal effects that you want to have with you on the tour bus that make it
the only thing
better.
You have your laptop. That's it's your internet, communicating with your friends and family, and it's your music. Listening to music and listening to new stuff. It's I don't know. You'll take loads of photos. It's where I keep my photos. So that's obviously good to have around.
Right.
But we're very good friends now. We've lived together for 5 years pretty much. Now we live together in a bus, so it's never that testing. Being in that environment, we've never really pushed us. Yeah, you get tired and you get down occasionally, but we've never pushed ourselves to any point we thought it looked anywhere near breaking.
Okay.
Which is good.
Yeah. So I mean, like, what's the worst part about being out on tour so much?
It is. You don't see your friends or your people from home or your girlfriends as much as you would do, I guess, in a normal job. But we do have the best job in the world, so you kind of that's the only thing really. I think tiredness, missing home, but
that's
it's the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's